When I discovered that Ethan was cheating, both of us stayed surprisingly calm. He stood in front of the girl to shield her. In a light voice, Lily said to me, "Don't blame him. It was me who couldn't control myself. He's innocent." I nodded to show I understood. That evening, Ethan came home and handed me a divorce agreement. "I've made some financial concessions," he said. "Look it over. If there's no problem, just sign." I tossed the agreement into the trash and kept my tone mild. "Relax. I'm not going to demand a divorce over something this small. It's just an affair. In an age like this, who hasn't faced temptation? Even I haven't always held the line, so how could I blame you?" He took a cigarette from the ashtray and was about to light it. Hearing me, he paused and looked up. I knew why he was startled. Once upon a time, I couldn't tolerate even a grain of sand in my eye. Ethan had always drawn attention from women. Back when we were head over heels, he really did try to keep himself clean for me, but some women are shameless enough to throw themselves at a man. I used to quarrel with him about that all the time. Over the years, though, maybe the passion thinned from being together too long, maybe we just got older and couldn't be bothered to fight. Our marriage turned into a pool of dead water, so still it couldn't stir a ripple. When life is that bland for too long, people start craving a jolt. Ethan and I have known each other for 20 years and have been married nearly 10. His company is thriving now and our parents get along well. "You know what a divorce would mean, right?" I said. "It means dividing assets, the company's stock price taking a hit, and both families thrown into upheaval. Our parents are old with underlying conditions, they might not withstand the shock." He was silent for a long while before saying, "I'm trying to respect you." I laughed, cold. "Your respect is finding a lover outside and putting a green hat on me?" He frowned. "She isn't a homewrecker. I told you, it was me being shameless. She knew I had a family and kept rejecting me." "I get it," I said. "No need to explain. Feelings aren't easily governed by reason." So I put it all on the table. "You're afraid I'll use my status as your wife to bully her, right? Don't worry. I, Emily Shen, may lack other virtues, but I am generous." Ethan studied me, testing the waters. "You really don't mind?" "I wouldn't go that far," I sighed. "But do you and Lily truly love each other?" He didn't answer. I gave a small, tired smile. Real love is rare these days. I've always believed in respecting it and offering blessings. Ethan wasn't swayed by my pretty words, but he knew I was speaking truth. He said he'd think more about the divorce. For several days in a row, he came home on time. When his phone rang, he'd glance at me and then hang up. I said generously, "It's her, isn't it? Pick up. Don't make her sad. You can't give her a rightful title. At least don't let her be wronged in other ways." He held back, then got up and went into the study. The door shut tight, like his heart, which hadn't been open to me for a long time. I understood him well enough. People are often tolerant of those they deeply love, and of those they never loved at all, but they're harshest toward the ones they once loved and no longer do. Ethan must have loathed me just then, so much that even sharing the same living room air felt suffocating. Still, because he feared I might lay hands on his lover, he had to come back every day and keep up the polite pretense with me. Poor man, how hard that must have been. That night, as usual, I sat alone in the empty bedroom. I can't even remember when we last had a married life in the real sense. At first I would still make the first move, but he always said he was tired. But men can still get a woman pregnant at 80. Even paralyzed in bed, they still want to grope the female caregiver. That was when I knew. Ethan wasn't tired at all. He was just already satisfied by another woman. But a 30-year-old woman is ravenous. I'm at the age of high desire. With no other choice, I found myself a clean, unattached man. Right before bed, I got his message. "So when exactly are you getting a divorce?" I replied. "I told you I'm not doing that." He said, "If you won't divorce him, then we shouldn't contact each other anymore." I pictured his 18 centimeters and those 8-pack abs, and I licked my lips with a hint of regret. Divorce was never going to happen. But since he was that firm, I couldn't push it, so I just moved my finger and deleted his number. Thankfully, 3-legged toads are hard to find, but 2-legged men are everywhere. Bye-bye then, on to the next, and the next will be more obedient. On Monday, we had the company's shareholders meeting. Ever since I miscarried from overwork 2 years ago, I stopped going into the office and stayed home to recuperate, living off dividends and peace. Still, I always show up for the quarterly shareholders' meetings. Compared with the last time I came to the company, there were a few more new faces. I spotted the woman in the corner of the conference room who was taking minutes. When she saw me, Lily panicked and averted her eyes, glanced left and right, and finally ducked her head, looking guilty. I didn't feel any hostility toward her, just a faint sense of irony. She was the first woman Ethan ever brought in front of me, but she wasn't the first woman he'd cheated with during our marriage. Ethan is strict about separating work from his private life. He never used to bring those other women to the company. Remembering how he always defended her between the lines, I thought to myself that this time might actually be true love. At 10 o'clock, Ethan walked into the conference room right on time, but didn't announce the start of the meeting. After a while, there was noise outside. The tightly shut door opened and a man in a charcoal gray suit walked in. "Sorry I'm late," he said, though there wasn't a trace of apology on his face. He sat down beside Ethan. Sensing my gaze, he looked over at me, then drew back his eyes without any expression. That was Dr. Ray Lewis. The man has a poker face, especially in bed. The more heated the moment, the colder he gets. Maybe I'm a bit of a masochist. The colder he is, the more excited I become. "Chairwoman Shen, who's that?" A shareholder beside me leaned over, baffled. "That's our angel investor," I said quietly. "We were able to found the company thanks to him. I'd never met him before. He has a lot of assets under his name. We've invited him to every shareholders meeting, but he always declined." "So why'd he suddenly show up this time?" the shareholder asked. I smiled and shook my head. "I don't know. Maybe he's just bored lately." The meeting ended close to noon. I didn't rush off. I planned to stay and have lunch with Ethan. As I came out of the restroom and was washing my hands, Lily walked in. The moment she saw me, she instinctively wanted to bolt, but after a beat she shuffled over, head down, voice barely above a whisper. "Chairwoman Shen?" I washed at an unhurried pace, pulled a paper towel, then moved to the dryer. When she still didn't get a response from me, tears spilled down her cheeks, her shoulders trembling, pitiful. "Chairwoman Shen, I really didn't mean to ruin your marriage," she stammered. "I didn't know he was married at first. I thought about leaving him, but you love him too much," I finished for her. I took out my handkerchief, tipped up the young woman's chin, and gently wiped her tears, even speaking in her defense. Just the thought of leaving Ethan feels like knives twisting in your heart, like your insides are being torn apart. So, you could only keep tangling yourself up with him. Later, he arranged for you to join the company, and you finally got to be with him day and night, right? I finished all her lines for her. She stared, dazed, even forgetting to cry. "Do you have anything you want to say to me?" I asked. In a company this big, if he truly wanted to avoid me, it would be easy. The girl's feelings were far too obvious. She was too weak, so weak that I almost found her a little bit endearing. "Chairwoman Shen, you're so capable, beautiful and wealthy," she faltered. So could you divorce him?" Realizing she had no real ground to stand on, she started crying again. "I really have no choice. I'm pregnant. Does Ethan know?" I kept my voice even. She nodded. "But he said you're unwilling to divorce. Chairwoman Shen, the baby is innocent. I grew up in a divorced family. I really want to give my child a whole home. Call me shameless if you want, but for the child, I'll do anything." I smiled a little and nodded. "I understand. Don't cry. You're carrying a baby. Be careful not to upset it." "Thank you for your understanding," she said, and started to kneel to me. When she realized I wasn't stopping her, her knee just hovered there, bent awkwardly in midair. I glanced at my watch. No wonder I was hungry. It was that time already. "Ethan and I will discuss the divorce again," I said, patting her shoulder before drifting out. Ethan's office is large. When I pushed the door open, he was chatting with Ray Lewis. Seeing me, Ethan stood with a smile. "Perfect timing, Ray. You and Emily haven't seen each other in a while, have you? Let's have lunch together." It actually hadn't been that long. We'd slept together just last week. Ray cut me a sidelong look and, with a tiny cough, said, "Yeah, it's been a bit." He added, "I was going to text you both last night about lunch today, but it seems Emily deleted me." "Impossible. Ethan said, picking up my phone to check, and sure enough, there was no Ray Lewis in my contacts. She must have deleted it by accident, he explained for me at once. Emily never deletes people. It's fine, you can add her back at home. Ray held out his QR code, personally watching as Ethan scanned and sent the request. I rolled my eyes inwardly. Who was it swearing last night we'd never be in touch again? Just as I was about to leave the office, the little lover Lily knocked on the door, one hand on her belly, looking miserable. She asked for time off. Technically, she should have gone to her direct supervisor, but since she's the apple of Ethan's eye, it all went smoothly, and in the end, I went to lunch with Ray alone. As we left, Ethan reminded me to keep things good with Ray, and especially regarding the deleting a friend incident, to make it up to him. They had truly been close back in the day, otherwise Ray wouldn't have invested when Ethan started the company. But at this age, in these positions, people change. Hearts get complicated. To show my sincerity in making amends, I let Ray bind my wrists with his tie the moment we got in the car. His expression stayed cold. He caught my ankle, lifted it to his shoulder, and bit down hard. So ruthless, he murmured with an icy edge. Delete me just like that. Come when you want, leave when you want. What am I to you? A dog? The windows were tinted, but we were still near the company, a familiar place that made it impossible for me to control my reactions. I love him this much, yet even knowing Ethan has been cheating for a long time, I still won't divorce. Ray lifted me, settling me back to chest on his lap. He pinched my chin and made me look. Ethan was carefully holding his lover as they stepped out of the elevator, his face full of pity. He was probably taking her to the hospital for a checkup. Tell me, Ray Lewis murmured, if you roll the window down right now and say hi to Ethan, how do you think he'll react? My breathing was ragged. Ray isn't a gentleman, especially in bed. I knew the more I begged, the wilder he would get. So my response was to hit the window switch, lean out, and try to greet Ethan. Sensing something, Ethan turned back, puzzled, but he saw only the windows sliding shut again. What is it? He asked. Lily, obedient as ever, nestled into his arms and looked over too. Ethan shook his head, and the two of them got into their car one after the other. What a pity. Pity, Ray said. He was driving the Rolls-Royce he'd picked up just last week. Ethan had never seen it before, or he would have realized something was off. I remembered the interior photos Ray had sent me, saying the car was roomy, perfect for car sex. After today's hands-on experience, I could confirm it. When we were done, I curled up, exhausted, in the back seat. Ray's collar hung open, and the afterglow still clung to my skin. He looked every inch the movie idol. No matter how hard you force it, this marriage won't last, he said, tapping the steering wheel. Ethan's caught real feelings. No one knows that better than you. Of course I know, I said. The last woman Ethan loved that deeply was me. It's fine. At worst he'll file for divorce, I added with a low laugh. But I've got plenty of time. I can afford to wait. I don't understand you, Ray said, brows knitting. Clinging to a man who doesn't love you, to a marriage without warmth, what's the point? There isn't much point, I admitted, but people don't live only for things that make sense. Besides, even if I divorced, I wouldn't marry you. So you always urging me to divorce, what's the point for you? His thin lips pressed together, his gaze darkening. He was angry, I could tell. I sighed. You want the thrill of an affair and a title that makes it all respectable. Don't be so greedy. That night, Ethan didn't come home, no surprise. Under the pretext of comforting me, Ray walked straight through my front door. At the crest of my trembling, when I could hardly control myself, he even pulled out his phone and called Ethan. Ray, what's up? It was already past midnight. Ethan's voice had that odd, hoarse edge. I heard from Emily that you're going to divorce her, Ray said evenly, his tone giving nothing away about the high-intensity exercise he was in the middle of. I bit my lip hard but still couldn't hold back a choked sound. Ethan heard it at once and pressed, Are you two still together? Ray answered, lowering his eyes. The pads of his fingers gently brushed my sweaty hair and the flushed rims of my eyes. She's crying. Ethan was quiet a moment. I've wronged her, he said at last. So you really do plan to divorce? Ray asked. I don't have a choice. On the other end, I heard the flick of a lighter. Ethan's voice turned wistful. I've already wronged Emily. I can't wrong another woman. She's pregnant. I have to take responsibility. But Emily doesn't want a divorce, she still loves you. When Ray said that, he poured almost all his jealousy out on me. I'll find a chance to talk it over with her, Ethan said, and hung up. Ray kept pressing me, again and again. Do you get it now? He doesn't love you. Divorce him. Then colder. I won't ask again. Are you divorcing or not? I clutched the sheet in a white-knuckled grip. Through clenched teeth I forced out, no, I'm not divorcing. Why should I? Why should I make way for someone else? Why should I hand over a stable life? In this lifetime I, Emily Shen, will at most be widowed, never divorced. Ethan came home the next day at noon. I had only just gotten up. I was worn out, had no appetite, and was cradling a bowl of oatmeal porridge, sipping it in tiny mouthfuls. The living room was very quiet. I sat at the dining table. Ethan sat on the sofa. I don't know how long we stayed like that before he finally said, "Honey, let's talk." He hadn't called me honey in a long time. Back in the early years when the company was starting up and we were fighting side by side, for the sake of clear boundaries, he always used my name in public. Later, little by little, he never switched back, even in private. I rose slowly and walked over. Don't you? She's pregnant. What are you thinking? Not much. If she's pregnant, let her have the baby. It's not like we can't afford to raise a child. I smiled. If you're worried the child won't have a proper status, we can bring the baby here and even register the child under my name. Ethan looked like he hadn't slept, dark shadows under his eyes. Emily, that's my child with her. I can't let them suffer that kind of humiliation. So, I can only wrong you. His face was bleak. For the sake of everything we've had all these years, could you please be straightforward and divorce me? Any terms for splitting assets, name them. I'll handle our parents. I'll deal with the media. I promise the divorce won't harm you one bit. You could even use my name to climb higher. Ethan, are you treating me like a client across a negotiating table now? After all these years, your pitch, those big empty promises, hasn't improved at all. I looked at him steadily, trying to see through his pupils into his heart. Ethan, am I your enemy? He dodged my eyes, looking a little discomfited. Sometimes I sigh at how people change. 10 years ago, I never would have imagined that the woman who couldn't tolerate a single grain of sand would become the one clutching a ruined marriage and refusing to let go. After all, on the very first day Ethan and I officially started dating, I told him, if you ever fall out of love, don't hide it from me. Let's part peacefully. I'd never cling or make a scene. Maybe it really is age catching up with me. Lately I keep remembering how vivid my youth felt because Ethan was in it. Even after all these years, that color hasn't faded. Ethan was resolute about the divorce. Because I refused to negotiate, he hired a lawyer and prepared to file for divorce. The very day I heard the news, his lover was mugged on her way to work. She didn't have time to loosen the strap, and she was dragged several meters before she was rushed to the hospital, almost miscarrying. Ethan, frantic, hurried to the hospital to calm her, then came home with a face like thunder. I was lying on the sofa, happily projecting our wedding video onto the TV. Ethan stood in the entryway. I smiled and greeted him. You're back. Why so quiet? Emily, how did you become like this? For the first time, he didn't bother to hide his dislike and loathing. You make me sick. I froze for a second, my heart seized in an invisible fist so hard I almost cried out. But I held it in. You think I arranged for her to be robbed? Didn't you? Couldn't it simply be that heaven couldn't stand her being a mistress, shameless enough to make a scene right in front of the wife, and decided to punish her? I've already said it, from start to finish, I was the one who made the first move. I was the one who clung to him and wouldn't let go. I was the one who, afraid he'd leave, deliberately let her get pregnant. If heaven wanted to punish someone, it should punish me. Ethan looks tormented because he still can't give his lover a wedding, a proper status. Emily, I'm begging you, he said. Don't lay a hand on her. What will it take for you to let her go? I'll kneel to you if I have to. The person who won't let her go is you, I said, pointing at the TV. Look, I'm watching our wedding video. Every sweet word you've told your lover, every promise you've made her, you once said to me. On screen, Ethan twirled me around on his back, giddy with joy, and faced the camera to swear. I'll love Emily for a lifetime. If I ever change my heart, may I lose love forever and die a bad death. Ethan stared at the screen, face bloodless, lips working soundlessly. If the you back then had known how you'd hurt me now, would you have preferred to die? I asked. Look at you, how awful you look. I sighed. Relax, I don't have any other scheme. I know you're worked up right now, I just want you to calm down first. He hurried over and sat quietly beside me. I only want to tell you this. People don't stay the same. Right now you believe what you feel for her is true love, that you could give up everything to be with her. Back then, what you felt for me was true love too. You even dared to risk your life to protect me. You divorce me and go to her. How can you guarantee you'll stay devoted to her for life? What if you meet another true love later? Will you divorce again? Ethan opened his mouth to argue. Don't tell me she's different. I cut in. When you were young, you thought I was different too. The truth is, it's all the same. Hearts change easily. Marriage has never been a prerequisite for real love. If you don't marry her, does that mean you don't love her? Is she the one insisting you divorce? Then think carefully. Does she love you, or the title of Mrs. Ethan? Ethan seemed half persuaded. But what about the baby? I can't let this child be illegitimate. I told you, put the baby under my name, I said, blinking. Then technically it's the original wife's child. When people talk, that'll sound better than a child born to a second wife, won't it? And she's already several months along. Even if we divorce and you marry her, the timing of the birth won't line up. She'll still carry the label of a mistress who took the wife's place, and the child will always be one born of an affair. If she truly loves you, truly loves this baby, she should know what choice is best. If she loves you and the child that much, she shouldn't mind enduring a little grievance. Ethan drew a deep breath and sprang to his feet. It's late. You should rest. You go ahead, I waved him off. I'll look at a few more photos. He glanced at the wedding portrait of us on the TV, then quickly looked away. Before going upstairs, he asked, Emily, what's your real reason for refusing to divorce me? If I said it was because I still loved him, he'd never believe me. I tugged one corner of my mouth. Honestly, I think divorce is pointless. My dad divorced my mom for true love when he was young, made a whole life or death spectacle of it. Later he got sick, the mistress ran off, and he slunk back home. My mother swore when she divorced, vowed she and my father would never speak again. Over the years she dated plenty, yet in the end she wound up tangled with my dad all over again. Round and round, we circle the drain because life is a messed up thing. Marriage is a grave, but having a grave is better than being left to rot in the open. So Ethan, you're my only grave. People say men can be devoted and single-minded. I never believed it before. But after I saw Ethan's lover, I do. I don't know if Ethan has noticed how much that young woman looks like the younger me. The same single-parent background, the same damage from our original families, the same fragility wrapped around a stubborn core. Ethan once told me he hated that we met too early. In those years when my family hurt me most, he wasn't strong enough yet. His wings weren't grown. Even when he spread them as far as he could, all he could do was stand in the rain with me. But now it's different. He's successful. He can shield that little girl from the wind and rain, the girl I used to be. How nice for him to get a chance to patch the regrets of his youth. And what about me, Ethan? What am I supposed to do? You get your tidy ending and I'm the one you leave behind? What did you say when you chased me? What did you promise when you married me? Do those sweet words and vows count for nothing now? You changed your mind and I'm supposed to cooperate like a good girl? Ethan didn't bring up divorce again. Even though she was in her final trimester and needed him, he actually came home more often. I kept playing the magnanimous wife, telling him every time to spend more time with his lover, and even hired 2 live-in nannies to look after her. Ethan said there was only so much I could do. How can nannies compare to a man? I smiled. She wants you, not the help. He silently set a rib in my bowl. By the end of the meal, it still lay there untouched. That night, after his shower, Ethan suddenly asked if I wanted to have marital relations. My first reaction was to tell him to go to his lover. Then I remembered she was in late pregnancy and shouldn't be doing anything strenuous. No wonder he came to me when he had needs. With true love now, it wouldn't look good to find some other woman to vent with. Thinking it through, I'm the only suitable choice. his wife in name at least. But while his needs weren't being met, mine had been more than met already, so I refused him outright. Emily, I remember you used to be very enthusiastic about this. Ethan frowned. You've got it wrong, I said. I'm still pretty enthusiastic. If you're really desperate, book a hostess at a club. I laughed. Back when you still loved me, you still had other women. His face went chalk white as he stared at me. What's with the surprise? Your lies were always clumsy. Don't tell me you thought you'd kept me fooled this whole time. The first time I discovered Ethan was cheating, I felt the sky collapsing. I was young then. I didn't understand that things in this world aren't black and white. I always thought if a man cheated, it meant he didn't love me anymore. Turns out that wasn't true. Ethan still loved me. He even loved me a little more for a while, buoyed by the guilt his affair brought him. But what good is love? His love for me didn't stop him from holding other women in his arms at night. The night I miscarried, when Ethan rushed to the hospital, there was still an obvious lipstick mark on his neck. He was so panicked, eyes wet, holding me as he choked out that he'd never let me suffer like that again, terrified I wouldn't be able to crawl out from the grief of losing our child. For a time, he dropped everything at work and kept vigil over me day and night. After the miscarriage, under Ethan's care, I recovered well. My complexion turned rosy again. Ethan, though, dropped nearly 10 pounds. Does he love me? He probably does. But if you truly love someone, how do you love her and betray her at the same time? There's no flawless love in this world. Love is like the ribs I'm obsessed with. The meat is delicious, but you still have to spit out the bones. Boneless cuts don't have bones, true, but I happen to love ribs, not boneless meat. Ethan stared at me, stunned, his gaze suddenly unfamiliar, as if he'd never really seen me before, or as if the fog had finally lifted and he could see me at last. Emily, he asked softly, how did you get through these past few years? Does it matter? I smiled. Now that you finally see my pain, Ethan, do you still feel any pity? His hand hanging at his side began to tremble out of his control. He clenched his fist, and then his whole body started to shake. I thought I'd enjoy watching him suffer for me, but after a few seconds, I only grew bored and looked away. I tossed him his phone. Someone just called you. Ethan, a beat behind, took the phone, returned the call, murmured a few words, and hung up. Her water broke, he reported, as if giving me an update. They're on the way to the hospital. Then hurry up and go, I said. Don't delay. But he just stood there, not moving. I yawned lazily, stretched out, and lay down. Congratulations in advance, I added. You're finally going to be a dad. I fell asleep and didn't even notice when Ethan finally left. Ethan had a daughter. When the baby turned 1 month old, we held a small, full-month banquet for her. It was my idea. After all, Ethan and I hadn't divorced, and the child was registered under my name. In our circle, bringing an illegitimate child home isn't uncommon. You can't fool people who care to look, but outwardly it still passes for respectable. As a new father, Ethan couldn't hide his joy. Who knows what the guests really thought, but on the surface everyone offered congratulations. Ray Lewis sent a gift too, a pair of solid gold bangles. They weren't light, but compared to his usual style, it wasn't exactly generous. A maternity nurse took care of the baby the whole time. When I was in the mood, I'd go over to tease her. I didn't have many thoughts about Ethan and his lover, but the child truly inherited their best features. At just 1 month, she looked like a porcelain doll, irresistibly cute. Ray stood beside me, watching Ethan show off the baby across the room. You're just going to stand here and watch? He asked, voice even. That's right, I said. I'm just going to watch. Emily, I want to be a father too. Go ahead, I said. I'm not stopping you. But you won't have my child. I gave him a look. With things between us this ambiguous, why should I risk childbirth and wreck my figure to have a baby with you? I couldn't help finding it funny. Ray frowned. But you were pregnant before. Yes, because back then I still loved Ethan. A child would have been a token of that love, I said bluntly. So what would it mean if I had your child? I don't love you. Ray tugged at the corner of his mouth in a self-mocking smile. I knew I'd hurt him. But he's free. I've never tied him down. If he's still standing next to me now, that's his own choice. Don't blame me. We're all adults. We live with the choices we make. Ethan came over holding the baby and greeted Ray Lewis, then casually asked about Ray's love life. "You've been single for quite a while, haven't you? Your family isn't pushing you?" Ray teased the baby a bit and said offhandedly, "The person I like still isn't divorced. There's nothing I can do." The whole room went silent. Ethan actually laughed. "You're cracking jokes now? I have to admit, paired with that cool deadpan face of yours, the cold humor kind of works." "I'm not joking," Ray said. His gaze slid to Lily standing behind Ethan, and then he suddenly smiled. "I even thought about asking you for pointers. What trick did you use to win Ethan's heart and have his baby? But on second thought, you went as far as having a child and still haven't secured your place. Maybe you're not that capable after all." The words hit like a bomb, blowing apart the fragile calm we'd been pretending to keep. After dropping that, Ray put away his smile and looked at Ethan with a blank face. "Ethan, I want to discuss something with you. Could you be decisive and divorce Emily? I really don't want to be the other man anymore. To be fair, you've had a child with another woman. Shouldn't Emily have a child with another man? And if we both count as homewreckers, your mistress has money, love, and a baby. Why do I have nothing?" The full-month banquet was ruined, and the last fig leaf between Ethan and me was ripped away. Terrified Ray might blurt out something even more earth-shaking, I slapped him in a panic. "Shut up." Ray's head tipped slightly from the blow. He sniffed, then asked, expressionless, "Did you change your perfume? The scent of that slap doesn't smell like before." Sure enough, you should never pick someone with more status than you to cheat with. If things go south, you might not be able to keep a lid on the fallout. I hadn't planned to get entangled with Ray in the first place. My plan was to find a clean, young guy, energetic and easy to handle. Meeting Ray was pure accident. He was Ethan's college classmate, a very aloof type. Every time we met, we exchanged polite nods and barely said 2 words. After I married, we saw each other even less. We added each other as contacts, and the chat window stayed dormant for ages. Occasionally, Ethan would mention him, saying Ray had a sharp eye. 8 or 9 out of 10 of the companies and projects he invested in made money. I knew Ethan was deeply jealous of Ray. Ray came from a better family and was more capable. But none of that had anything to do with me. So when I ran into Ray at a bar, I pretended not to see him. I looked decent enough that it didn't take long for a young man to hit on me. I picked one, had a few drinks, and decided to get a room. Worried I'd balk at the last second because of my fastidious streak, I even took a little something to get in the mood. As I swallowed it, I thought how absurd it was that I would have a day like this, becoming this kind of rotten person. But the world is rotten through. Everyone around me was rotten. Rotting a little myself made me fit in better. I'd booked the presidential suite in advance. When the drug kicked in, the young man swiped his card, and before we even made it into the room, I couldn't help throwing my arms around him, only to be yanked away. It was Ray. He'd followed me all the way to the hotel. With a dark face, he drove his fist into the young man. "Don't, stop hitting him," I panted, heat flooding my body. I collapsed to the floor, breath burning. "What did he give you?" Ray frowned. "I'm calling 911. "I took it myself," I waved him off. "Today has nothing to do with you. Go." "Emily, you're drunk. Do you even know what you're doing?" Ray stared at me in disbelief. "You're married." "So what?" For a split second my head cleared, and I smiled back at him. Is it a crime for a married person to sleep with someone who isn't their spouse? If it is, shouldn't Ethan be serving a life sentence? He understood exactly what I meant and pressed his lips together. If Ethan did something wrong, you should divorce him, not punish yourself by making the same mistake. Easy for you to say divorce. You're not me. You don't know how I feel. You don't know my past. What gives you the right to toss out a light little get divorced? If I leave the marriage, I lose my home. Should I sleep on the street? He planted himself in front of me like a tall tree. Annoyed, I shoved his shin. Get out of my way. Mind your own business. I wanted to go find that young guy and pick up where we left off, but he clearly decided I was trouble and slipped off. I shot Ray a glare, pushed myself up, and headed into the room. He moved to follow on instinct. "What are you doing?" I asked. "That guy ran off. Are you planning to take his place?" His steps faltered. He didn't come in, but he wouldn't let me shut the door either, and he didn't leave. The drug had scrambled my judgment, and when Ray snatched my phone out of my hand, I couldn't even call another man on the spot. "Are you insane?" I cursed him as my fingers went to his tie. At that point, I couldn't worry about the mess that might come after. So this is what it feels like when lust flips the switch. No wonder men can't control themselves and only care about getting off first. Ray clamped both my hands in his. "Two choices," he said. "Either sleep with me or I find you a man." He didn't answer after that, but the resistance left his body. Needs surged, urgent and impatient, and we didn't even make it to the bed before the final step. Even then, Ray's self-control held long enough for him to put on protection. He said that not using it would be disrespectful to me and to Ethan. In a moment like that, he could still talk about respect. Was my charm not enough? Soon I couldn't think about any of it at all. My first time with Ray was a mistake. I figured I'd pretend nothing happened and leave when I woke up, but Ray was up too early. I half suspected he hadn't slept at all. The moment I opened my eyes, I met his gaze. He was sitting in a chair by the window, staring at me without blinking. Backlit, I couldn't read his expression. "About last night," I started, and realized my voice was hoarse. "Ethan cheated." Ray cut in. My silence counted as admission. "I'll act like last night never happened," he said, standing. "What goes on between you and Ethan is none of my business. As a friend, though, my advice is, don't drag it out. Cut it clean." He paused. "And if you insist on finding someone, at least pick a clean one. Don't go to bars." Hearing that, I found it absurd, and then I felt even more unwilling to accept it. Ethan cheated first. I just mirrored him. What right did Ray have to climb up on the moral high ground and lecture me? Yes, I lost my restraint last night. I made the first move. But the one who wouldn't stop in the end was him. The sober one, choosing it with clear eyes. So after making my first mistake, I made a second. I stopped him as he was about to leave. "You said random men are dirty. You're clean enough, aren't you? What if I pick you?" Ray lowered his eyes to look at me, his expression cool. "I don't have that kind of kink. I don't touch a friend's wife." "Then who possessed you last night?" I shot back. His face went rigid. "Need me to jog your memory about how you kept that monkish face while biting my neck and wouldn't let go?" I tipped up my chin to show the marks along my long throat. "See? Evidence." His gaze went black, something dark roiling there. The pressure of his presence grew heavier. I glared right back, refusing to retreat. After a few seconds of standoff, Ray suddenly swept me up, stripping off the suit he'd just put on as he carried me toward the bed. He was a beast. The suit was his cage. After that, Ray and I got tangled up for good. Every time, he kept a cold face and insisted he had no interest in being the other man, telling me to find someone else. But the moment I teased him, he'd start loosening his tie. Later, I even developed a reflex. Whenever I saw him tug at that tie, I wanted to run. Once he'd had a taste, though, he wouldn't let me see anyone else. Not only that, he wanted to go legit. Too bad I'm not an idiot. If I divorced Ethan and started over with Ray, what then? Walk the same road I already walked with Ethan. Just repeat the same mistakes. So I won't divorce, and I won't be with Ray either. If he gets tired of me, he can find someone else. I won't stop him. But Ray really did go mad, obsessed with becoming the official one. If he couldn't win, he'd rather drag everyone down with him. The full-month banquet was a total loss, but every guest who left wore an awkward smile, full to bursting with gossip if not with food. After we saw off the last guest, Ray, right in front of both sets of parents and Ethan, offered to drive me home to rest. Instinctively, Ethan grabbed my wrist. No. It wasn't that I was taking Ray's side. I was simply worn out and needed to lie down. I pried Ethan's fingers off one by one. "Emily, you're just going to leave?" He forced out between clenched teeth. "Aren't you going to give me an explanation?" I blinked at him. "Explain what?" "You and Ray, when did you two get involved? What do you take me for?" "My husband, of course," I said. "Why such a big reaction, Ethan?" My righteous tone threw him off. He couldn't answer for a moment. "It's only an affair. No big deal. It's not like we're divorcing. And my affair partner is just Ray. You, on the other hand, if it's not 10, it's 8. I don't mind. Why should you?" Ethan finally reacted. He laughed, razor-edged and sarcastic. "So that's why you don't mind me cheating, because you've had someone on the side all along." Ray, standing at my shoulder, handed him the eye drops with a blank face. You heard her, Emily, he said for my benefit. I don't mind being the other man. And you, her husband, already hold the most legitimate title, yet you're still this petty? I'm a lot more generous than Ethan. Ray Lewis. Ethan roared at last, unable to hold back, and swung his fist at him. Ray simply lifted an arm to block him and said, calm as ice, "You're insane," then shoved Ethan aside. Ethan stumbled back a few steps and knocked over several stools trying to steady himself. "Ethan, you're in public, watch your image," I snapped, then turned to Ray. "And you, do you have any idea what this will do to the company's reputation if word gets out?" "You don't care about my feelings, so why should I care about the company's image?" Ray answered lightly. "It's not like I rely on your company to eat." I remembered he was only our angel investor and bit back what I wanted to say, ready to try again, when Ethan suddenly burst out laughing. He sat on the floor in a mess, laughing as tears leaked from his eyes. "It's just an affair. Just an affair." When he'd laughed enough, he said, "Emily, I'm divorcing you." I looked at him. "Are you sure?" Ethan forced himself upright, jaw tight. "Of course." "Fine, then let's divorce." The moment I said it, Ray's face lit with fierce joy, while Ethan's went blank. His mouth opened and closed, unable to believe I'd actually agreed. "You've fallen for Ray, haven't you?" His voice was very soft, with a tremor. "You wouldn't divorce me before. You love him now, so you'll divorce me. Isn't that what you wanted? I'm just fulfilling your wish." "No, no," Ethan suddenly roared. "I'm not divorcing. Give it up. Not even if I die." His lover tried to go to him, and he flung her off. Sensing the crackling tension among the adults, the baby started wailing. I quickly had someone take the child away. It was as if all the life had been drained from Ethan. He looked like a dead tree. Stubbornly, with tears and a strange smile, he stared at me. "Emily, I won't let you have your way. You refused to divorce me. You were good to me. You made me fall in love with you again. What is Ray, anyway? Only me. I'll be your legitimate husband for the rest of my life." He grabbed his car keys and left. His lover hurried after him. Our parents looked at one another, at a loss. Ethan's mother clapped her thigh helplessly. "What is all this? Can't you just live your lives properly?" I thought of how when he was young, she'd sold the house to pay for her gambling and left Ethan homeless. Was that what she called living properly? A shrill blast cracked the air outside the restaurant, making the building shudder for a few seconds. I remembered the derelict high-rise nearby, abandoned for years, recently taken over to be demolished and rebuilt. I wasn't in the mood to gawk. I just asked Ray to take me home. As I got into the car, I glanced toward the demolition zone. The area was cordoned off, dust billowing, like my life, nothing but ashes after the ruin. I'd said I would never be divorced, only widowed. Ethan said he would be my rightful husband for life. Our words turned prophetic. He died. He and his lover both died in that explosion. The charges had been calculated carefully, and the area had been cleared in advance. But Ethan lost his head and just wanted to find a quiet, out-of-the-way corner. By chance, he slipped past the workers' patrol route. His lover chased him, and the two of them stepped into the blast zone one after the other. I refused the government's compensation, stating it had been Ethan's own doing. With the company suddenly headless, I, as Ethan's wife and one of the shareholders, stepped forward, together with the original shares in Ray Lewis's hands. I vaulted into the position of largest shareholder and took over the company without a hitch. I didn't marry Ray Lewis, but in exchange for helping me rise to the top, he became the baby's godfather. At night, his eyes would still go dark. With a blank face, he'd taste every inch of my skin, and he'd glare menacingly at any man who came near me, driving them off. He had no rightful title as the man of the house, yet he behaved like one all the same. I didn't indulge him, but it was nice having someone around. Every now and then, I still get lonely. When the child turned 1, I threw a lavish birthday party. Ray had an unmistakable husband air about him. Worried I'd get tired holding the baby, he reached out and took him from my arms. The baby waved his little hands toward me, mouth opening and closing to form 2 syllables, "Mama." He could talk already. Smiling, I pinched his cheeks. Sunlight poured through the windows. The derelict building that had been demolished a year ago had a new foundation now. Word was, the financing this time was solid, the structure going up strong. When it's finished, it'll become a new landmark for the city. Good. I hope I get to see that new landmark rise for real this time.